Good afternoon. Welcome back. It is Sunday, October 15th, 2023. Wow, what a busy day we have for you today with all of our birthdays and plenty of events to talk about as well. Excuse me. We're going to go all the way back to 1967 on this date. Buddy Baker wins at Charlotte Motor Speedway for his first career Cup Series or then Grand National Series win. But more importantly, it broke a 10-race streak by Richard Petty of winning races. So that's kind of your, trivia for the day is who was the driver that broke Richard Petty's 10-race winning streak. Buddy Baker would be your answer for his first career Cup Series win. 1989 on this date at North Wilkesboro, Jeff Bodine wins the Cup race there, leading only the last lap as Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd. Dale Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd tangle in turn one on the last lap. Rusty Wallace managed, I believe, like a 5th or 6th place finish. And if the race would have finished at the white flag lap, Dale Earnhardt leaves this race as points leader. As it is, Wallace leaves the points leader. And of course, Rusty would go on to win the 1989 Cup Series title by 12 points. At the time, the second closest margin, only behind the 1979, that was 11. And, like I said, you don't know how it turns out, but if this last lap shenanigans didn't happen between Rudd and Earnhardt, maybe Earnhardt lets him pass. Maybe Earnhardt goes on and wins the title, but that's not how Dale raced. Speaking of Dale, on this day in 2000 at Talladega, Dale goes from 17th to 1st, or 18th to 1st, or whatever to 1st in the last 3, 4, 5 laps. Definitely a race to go back and watch, at least the last 5 laps or so. This was the first race with the big wicker bill on top. It was an aero package that even tightened up the already tight enough packs at Daytona and Talladega. NASCAR, again, this was when NASCAR was just starting to play around with the idea of being more entertaining and less competitive, meaning going from sports to that sports entertainment transition. So, this was Dale's last win. It was a No Bull 5 race. He got $1 million bonus for winning this race. Very, very iconic day indeed. 2001 on this date, Ricky Craven wins his first Cup Series race at Martinsville, beating Dale Jarrett to the line. 2004, in probably one of the most comically titled sponsored races at Charlotte in the Busch Series, Mike Bliss wins the SpongeBob SquarePants the Movie 300. Yes, that was the title sponsor, SpongeBob SquarePants the Movie 300. He's driving for Joe Gibbs at the time. First of 2 career wins in the Busch Series for Mike Bliss. And at 2017 at Talladega, Brad Keselowski wins. And again, we talk about entertainment value here, and this was the first year of stage racing. Also the first year with the damaged vehicle policy, the clock, if you will, the 5-minute clock. Now it's 6 minutes. But they 14 cars finished the race. Let's put it that way. 14 cars finished the race. Positions 15 through, I want to say 42, or however many started that day. 40 maybe, I can't remember. But positions 15 through the back of the field, the end of the field, everybody was out because of a crash except for 2 that were parked, which probably meant they didn't follow they didn't meet the damaged vehicle policy. So anyway, it was a race kind of that nobody wanted to win. One of the NASCAR YouTubers recently did a video about it. I can't remember if it was KKB or it may have been the Iceberg. I don't remember, but somebody did a video on it pretty good, talking about the race that nobody wanted to win. So birthdays, and we had you full on highlights, and now we've got some birthdays. We'll start with the ones that I don't have cards of first. Born on this day in 1984. Many of you have heard this name before. Chad McCumbee. He's raced in the ARCA series. He also played Dale Jr.'s role in one of those Earnhardt Legacy movies. And he does have a couple Cup starts. I know he does have one for Petty Enterprises. I believe at Michigan, perhaps. Born on this date in 1982. He's got a Truck Series win. Brandon Witt. He'd be the brother of Cole Witt. Now here's an interesting one that popped up on the birthday list. Only has a handful of starts, couple Bush starts, or a couple ARCA starts, a Bush start, and a Cup start. Jay Summers, Sommers. Jay Summers, born on this day in 1967. I believe he was like, see here, that would make him 20, 21 at the time. But in 87, 88, thereabouts, he won the Michigan State Lottery, won a few $1,000,000, so he ended up buying a race car and did actually run one Cup race in it, ran a couple ARCA races in it. Ooh, I'm getting another scam call. Boy, it's Sunday and the scammers are busy today. It's about the 6th one today. I've got words for scammers, but I can't use them here on my channel. So anyway, to the birthdays that we have cards of. Born on this day in 1958. He was a showman for Speedway Motorsports, Inc. Recently retired, Mr. Eddie Gossage. There he's pictured with Bruton Smith. But Eddie helped with the formation of the Texas Motor Speedway and was very instrumental with Speedway Motorsports, Inc. Born on this day in 1938, a name that you may not be familiar with. Former driver, but just briefly, for Rod Osterland. More known as a crew chief for Rod Osterland, and that would be Roland Wolodka. Now, he was a brief crew chief, I believe, for Dale Earnhardt in the 79 rookie campaign. Was crew chief for Dave Marcus when Marcus was the Osterland driver. There's a little bit of history on Roland. And then in 1989, when Osterland came back to the Cup Series, Roland Wolodka went back over there. But they did not have near the success that they had 10 years prior. Let's look and see who else we got right there. Born on this day in 1915, passed away sadly in 1996. NASCAR pioneer, Mr. Gober Sosebee. Gober is the father of former ARCA driver David Sosebee. And there you see his got 2 Cup wins, one in 52, one in 54. A little bit of his career highlights. And then there is one of his race cars from back on the day, Gober Sosebee. And David Sosebee was a pretty competent ARCA driver, had some great runs back in the day. I'm kind of tossed which direction to go in, but this is the direction I'm going in. Born on this day, allegedly in 1932, could be 31, could be 33. Nobody really knows for sure, but most of the documentation and websites that I've said says 1932. If you guessed Red Farmer, you guessed correctly. Because a lot of his stuff, you know, it just talks about started racing in 1949. Started racing. Wasn't born in 49, he started racing in 49. And he still races today. He's named one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers. And, you know, I guess the big thing with NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers, and even with the 75, there were so many that were left off and so many that were put on because Red's a Hall of Famer, but he didn't have Cup success, didn't have really Busch success either. He, I guess if you wanted to get technical, it was the pre-Busch series or Xfinity series back in the 50s and 60s. Of course, he worked with Davey Allison a lot. There's we got another one. Another 2 scam calls. These guys are busy. It's Sunday, guys. Learn your laws. Red Farmer here again from Alabama. Worked with Davey's Busch team primarily during this era, but he still did run a lot of races. And our final one, I think this is an appropriate one to end the video with. Born on this day in 1920, sadly passed away in 2012. You know him as the Dean of American Motorsports, Chris Economaki. So, Mr. Economaki worked for CBS. I believe he's worked for just about every network. If you go on YouTube and watch the 1987 Southern 500 on ESPN, he's there co-hosting with Bob Jenkins. He was National Speed Sport News, the editor and publisher of that. If it had wheels, Chris would follow it. He was a reporter. He had a knack for telling the stories. He's a pit reporter. Near his end of his career with CBS, he was up in the booth with Ned Jarrett and Ken Squire. And I think that was a pretty formidable trio because Ken Squire brought you an eloquent side. Ned Jarrett brought you the NASCAR insight from both a driver's perspective and just being in the industry, being with NASCAR for so long. And Chris Economaki brought that, that carnival barker, because that's kind of what he did as a youthful person in the Northeast, going up and down, selling the popcorn, the peanuts, the programs, the tickets, etc., etc. So he brought that energy into the booth as well. So, I think all time, Benny, Bob, and Ned on ESPN was probably your best three-man booth of all time. But Ken, Ned, and Economaki, I think they were a second or a third best, because Mike Joy, Neil Bonnet, Buddy Baker did really good on TNN as well. But at any rate, lots of birthdays, lots of events today. This is a long video, so sorry to keep you guys around for so long, but wow, days like this I like because there's a lot to talk about. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We have Mailbag Monday, where we're going to dig back into more of these hero cards. Like I say, we're going to be going through these till February or March probably. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Really, really do appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow.